Dr. Judy Wood, for those that don't know her, has become somewhat well known now because of what you saw that many people didn't see on 9/11, and I was one of those people that didn't see, and you did. And so, you know, we've talked. I know you've talked about that in many interviews before, but I think I wanted to just mention how, for example, some of the key things that stood out to me from your description of what happened then, which is that you saw exactly what happened, and you saw through these false stories which were coming out straight away, didn't you? Because you just saw, you looked at the events and you saw that this building came apart. The buildings were coming apart.
Never saw anything like that before.
And you thought, what the heck is going on? You said you thought it was like a War of the Worlds thing, didn't you? That that was happening, that it was being replayed on all the channels, the same footage, wasn't it? And so you're thinking, is it just me? You know, you described how you felt that you were, you know, it was the invasion of the body snatchers, where you were the only one, you were the one that had gone insane, and everyone else was
or the other way around.
Yeah, or the other way around.
And needed to sort out that difference.
Right. And you said, I know you said many times that when your eyes and your ears disagree, you tend to shut out your ears, don't you?
Another thing, they told us it was a collapse, and I remember thinking, now, what does a collapse look like?
Right.
No, it doesn't look like that.
And I remember you saying in the lectures, you know, particularly I think it was the BEM lecture, you said this, you know, collapse, pile, Osama bin Laden, terrorism, those were put out straight away. They anchor these concepts into the event, you know, what's happening in front of you, so you associate it with that, and then you stop questioning. That you'd started to look at 9/11 pretty much on September the 11th itself, or even the 12th or something.
On the 11th, yeah.
Yeah. And so a lot of people have tried to say, oh, this Dr. Judy, she wrote this book in 2010, and that's when she came onto 9/11 after all these other people had, you know, been saying things and doing books and stuff. That's nonsense, isn't it? Because you were actually posting stuff. I know you were posting stuff in 2004, and that time, that was when you said you felt that nothing was being done. The grown-ups, as you said, weren't going to take care of it.
And somebody needed to.
And somebody needed to. So you took that decision, essentially, and almost literally, to put your life on the line.
Right, and my career was for sure, you know, it was one-way ticket.
Yeah, that essentially sort of came about later, didn't it? And kind of, you know, that didn't go well from there. And then you know, so you're on record really from on the internet, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you started posting stuff on Jane Doe, was it 2004? Yeah. And I know you'd been discussing it privately with a few people for the years before that, hadn't you? And you'd set up this Jane Doe page to just put some pictures on, to share stuff.
I didn't email it.
Right, you didn't know how to email it and stuff. Right, okay, so you started the book essentially in around about 2008 then, because you got to the point where you got the evidence into some kind of organisational format, and so you started to build on that and marshal it a bit more and so forth.
Right, organise it better.
Yeah, organise it better.
The website and all was just hurried together.
And, you know, the people that are not familiar, as you've said, the buildings, they did not burn up, they did not slam to the ground, they mostly turned to dust in midair. That's what happened to the towers. If you want to get it down to a compact, succinct description, that's it basically.
And actually, that statement was in the Supreme Court thing.
Right, great.
Because you only have so many words, and that.
Yeah, and that's it. You put that into a court document because you knew you could prove that's what happened.
Yep, no question.
And that's the whole point. That's why we're so firm on this, and we don't talk about theories. We don't want to talk about theories.
You don't take a court case based on theories or hypotheticals.
No. I said, look, this isn't a theory. This is the evidence. And as you said, you know what you know.
Know what it is that you know that you know that you know.
Yeah.
And know that you don't know anything. The rest.
Don't confuse the two.
Right. And don't fill in the gap.
And don't try and fill in the gaps. So you've said that many times, and it still applies. And what we were saying earlier on about where did the towers go as the book, it's a course in critical thinking as much as being a book about 9/11.
To show that discipline and sort of teach that discipline, because that is something that is so lost in our culture. People think that really confuse guesses and theories and hypotheticals with facts. And to really gain some discipline in separating those things, because once you separate those things and know what it is that you know, and not fill in that other, if you start filling in things with guesswork, you're biasing your observations.
Right.
Like, for example, why I talked about fumes. That's
Yes,
a generic
yeah.
term. If you say smoke, you're already assuming
And fire,
fire
yeah.
is the source.
Yeah, and there's many examples of that in the book. So, and it's a good, often, as you said, I think, if you read the book, when you finish reading
Front
it, read
to the
it.
back.
Yeah, read.
Straight
Yeah,
through.
so you read it in order, front to back, straight through. Don't skip any parts. Don't skip to the middle.
Don't go quote mining.
Don't go quote mining. Don't go picture browsing. You know, study it all, and then when you've studied it all, go back to the beginning and study it again.
Yep.
You know.
3 times is usually the
Yeah.
the popular number of times, because first time through you sort of get the picture. Second time through you see the details, like the various footnotes and
Yes, indeed.
things like that quoted things from other sources. And then third time it's solidified.
It's truly an amazing compendium as well, and you know, so people should try and beg, steal, or borrow a copy and work through it, you know, as best they can. Some people say there's technical parts, but there are many non-technical parts as well.
You can step
Right.
around the equations. The equations are there for who want equations. My teaching style is to get the reader to think. Well, I call it a course in critical thinking. To get the reader to process the information. Don't spoon feed them, but you ask them enough questions and you give them the data to look at, and they can figure it out. So my book covers what happened as well as how it happened.
That's right. So the how is there, but it's done in a way which is sort of kind of subtle and not spoon feeding you. So you show the how in the form of things like, for example, tornadoes.
The direct evidence, and then I show parallel evidence.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then you can see on one side one set of evidence, and the other side the other set of evidence, and anybody.
And all of it is evidence.
Exactly. So it's no theories. You know, we've said that many times. The irrefutable film that Adam Dwyer so marvelously made a couple of years ago, which has, I think, turned a few heads. I think he was pretty successful in what he set out to do in that film.
He was an engineer. He just happened upon the book and went, whoa.
And you know, we're interested in the importance of the evidence, which shows you that free energy technology exists.
I'd like to put it in other terms is what happened. My book's about evidence of what happened.
Yes.
And the evidence of what happened is evidence that a technology exists that can do what was done. But that technology doesn't have to do what was done. It can do good things.
And that
provide free energy.
That's essentially our main motivation, isn't it? To show people that out of this, you know, horrible set of events, horrible on so many levels, that there is a light, a light that can come out of that, hopefully, to change
Silver
the world.
lining of the gray cloud.
And you know, obviously you've written about Nikola Tesla in your book, and other people such as John Hutchison.
And Tesla is afraid to bring this out for fear it would be used for evil instead of good. Well, we don't have that fear anymore.
We don't have that fear anymore.
Done that.
Because they've already done it.
Also, that the evidence of what happened, the evidence of how it happened, is in the book. And many like to say, oh, she didn't think of this gizmo or that gizmo or this gizmo, because they want to play spin the dial and name that weapon. And that takes people away from what happened. The evidence is irrefutable. You can't argue with the evidence. You can argue with names of gizmos, but you can't argue with the evidence.
Absolutely, yeah, and you can have all these debates about HARP or whatever it is, and that I wrote an article about that many years ago.
Like anything that can do what was done is classified technology.
Yeah, yeah. So we as ordinary people don't have access to that, and we're no different. I mean, those that know don't talk, and those that talk don't know.
Bingo.
That's the phrase that I've heard said many times, and that seems to be the
something else of interest to point out is since my book has come out, there's been quite a few people contacting me, sometimes quietly saying, "You're spot on."
Yeah, and this is people that have seen the events themselves, haven't they? And
yeah, or who know of this type of work.
Yeah, yeah. So, but really, that's about as far as we can go, because they themselves are under threat. Because this group, whoever it is, this group is, as I've said, they have absolute power. Yep. They have absolute power, and if you go by the saying that power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely, then my logic would be they are absolutely corrupt. And that has been our experience, hasn't it, with people like Fetzer and Jones? I'd say they're absolutely corrupt.
No moral compass left.
No moral compass left.
But what I mean by directed energy is instructed energy. Energy is directed or instructed to do something differently than it normally does. And the examples of parallel examples, parallel evidence of how that is done is in John Hutchison's work. It's in tornadoes. It's in a variety of hurricanes. There's a variety of examples we see even in nature. So it's not something that has never happened before.
How has investigating 9/11 changed Dr. Wood's worldview paradigm? So how has it changed your
I thought more
worldview?
people were honest, and
Yeah.
or honest with themselves. And I didn't realize how many people don't see what's in front of them.
It's been a real,
Yeah, believe what they're told instead of seeing what's in front of them, like my colleagues.
that was a big wake-up thing, wasn't it?
It was the scariest day of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like invasion of the body snatchers.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
So
these are honest people, but they couldn't get outside of what they're being told. They just were following in line, like the Ash-conformity experiment shows.
yeah, and it is so difficult for people to take on board the enormity of this, and they just sometimes completely shut
Because it destroys
down.
their worldview.
Yeah, it completely destroys it.
You have to be able to respect evidence and value looking at evidence and seeing what the evidence says.
So we've had very negative attacks by people, and then some people have said that it's changed their life for the better, and it's made them so much more aware of how the world really is, and they value that. Some people don't value it and they're afraid of it, but others have the opposite reaction. It liberates their thinking, and they start to think in new ways, and I've certainly said that this opens up a whole set of possibilities and new horizons. How are you coping with all the flack that you get from both the mainstream media and the trolls on the internet?
The truth is the truth. Most of the building turned to dust.
Yep.
People
Yep.
insulting me doesn't change that.
No. We'll have days where we feel fed up and we just don't want to do anything, but the next day you think, I'm over that now.
You're all right. You just got to vent it and then you move on.
Exactly, vent it and move on, and you keep going.
But it does become really surprising how the leaders of the PSYOPs, or some of the leaders of the PSYOPs, have such easy control over people, can easily divert them.
Absolutely.
That I wouldn't have guessed. But the important thing is, once you go through the book, then you realize your eyes should be open and you start seeing the whole world differently.
And you can look at a whole range of different topics with different analytical skills, which you've then gained.
And you quit watching TVs, another thing.
Yes, you do.
What was it that Richard Hall says?
Throw your TV out of the window.
Yeah.
Throw your TV out of the window.
Yeah. That's a good thing, because everything about it is just, if I'm at somebody's house and happen to see it, it's so strange.
We should just say thank you to all the people that support us in what we do by, giving out leaflets, DVDs, telling friends, sharing the information.
And thinking honestly.
Thinking honestly and thinking for themselves. That's all we want them to do. They don't need to thank us. It's nice when they do, but we're getting on with our lives. We suggest you get on with yours.
Oh, how to change the world. That's an important thing to think about. Like, what do we do to change the world? What we need is more honest thinking.
Yes.
If all of us are honest, always be truthful in everything you do, that will change the world.